have made a vow unto the Lord, unto God, and I cannot, no, I cannot take it back. Those were the words of Jephthah, a judge during Gideon's time. You can find his story in the book of Judges, chapter number 11. He said, I have made a vow unto my God, and I cannot, no, I cannot take it back. He was made an instant leader. The people around him loved him so. They said, you are going to be our leader. At the times when they were facing an enemy so harsh, so cruel, the Ammonites. The Ammonites had jumped on them, had hit him. And let me give you a little perspective on when I'm speaking about. It was after these people, the Israelites, had crossed the Jordan River. And it was before they received their first king, Saul. The Ammonites had jumped all over them and making them go into depression. The Israel people had gone back from their God. And this man, Jephthah, had become their king. He spoke to the Ammonite king. And he said, why do you oppress us? And the Ammonite king told him that you folks took our land. You stole it from our hands. And we demand to take it back. And Jephthah said, whatever God has given us is ours. That you can't touch. And the Ammonite king said, I want my land. And I will do anything and everything to take it back. And he oppressed them more until the Bible says the Spirit of God came on Jephthah. And when the Spirit of God came on Jephthah, he made a vow, saying, dear Lord, dear God, if you give the Ammonites in my hand, I swear to you that whatever comes out of my door when I return home, I shall give to you as a burnt offering. You see, he didn't have to make that vow. How do I know that? Because when we read about Gideon, the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. Gideon, who was a clueless, good-for-nothing person, a paranoid, clueless person. When the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, he conquered the whole land. And Jephthah didn't have to make a vow. When the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, the war, the battle, everything was his because the Lord was with him. But he made a vow. And he said that whatever comes out of my house, when I return back, I swear to you, God, I will give to you as a burnt offering. There was the declaration of war. And he became the commander-in-chief. They fought. And this man was not like Gideon. If you read Gideon's story, Gideon sat around and watched the enemy beat themselves up. But he had to fight. He had to use the swords. There were blood, there were fights, there were rapes all over the place. But the Lord gave him the victory. 20 cities in his hands and the Ammonite king in his hands. And he walked proud. He was put on a horse. The people went crazy about their new hero. They were shouting and screaming that our hero has brought victory to our land. The little children can go out and play. Moms and dads could go to work. They were going crazy. A ticker tape parade. Banners all up. Children wanting to touch him because he was a hero in the land. He was getting closer to the house. Oh, he'd missed his wife. He'd missed his daughter. He wanted to see them, hug them, dance with them, play with them. He knew his servant would be there to meet him. He knew that, like always, a servant would come, take off his coat, give him a bath. He was waiting. Someone in that house must have been waiting. Someone in that house must have been looking at the clock. Someone in that house must have been pacing back and forth, back and forth. Someone must have been praying for that warrior's life, for that warrior's victory, for that warrior's return. And he rode on, proud. Anyone who has faced a victory will tell you that they will reminisce to the past. They will remember the hardships they faced when they were little. And they will say, I overcame these obstacles. And I could just see Jephthah on his horse, recalling his past, his unfortunate past. His mom had been a prostitute. She had never loved him. She had slapped him, spit on him. Get out of my house, she had told him. His brothers, even worse, kicked him around, grabbed that boy, and told him to get out of their house, to get out of their face, and to get out of their lives. An unfortunate past, but nothing could stop him now. There was no man that could break him. There was no army that could outwit him. There was no force that could overcome him. He rode on the horse, so proud. He was the hero, aching to come home, aching to see his family. As he arrived, coming out off his horse, in his heart he knew the servant would come. The door flung wide open. And who would it be but his only child, his daughter? He froze. She ran out the house to meet her daddy. Her hero had come home. She was dancing. He fell on his knees. She was screaming and yelling and shouting with joy. He tore his clothes. She was happy and rejoicing. Her daddy, her hero, was home. And he cried his heart out because his daughter, his only child, had come out of that door. The little daughter was there, ready to give him a hug. And the daddy's going, my daughter, you don't understand. Daddy, what is wrong? We've heard you've won. You are our hero. What is wrong? My daughter, you have made me miserable. Why do you say the things you say to me, Daddy? Don't you love me? My daughter, you have made me very miserable. You see, some people who never had, never want to give. But some people who never had will do all they can in their power to give you what they didn't have, like this man. He had never received love, but he had swore in his heart that ever he had a family, he would cherish it. If ever he had a child, he would love it. If ever he had a son or daughter, he would die for that son or daughter. And now he had dug the grave for his only child. He never had, but he wanted to give. Somewhat like our Armenian parents. Parents that came from unfortunate backgrounds, the massacre. They didn't have, but they will do anything in their power to give. Perhaps they don't understand the songs we sing. Perhaps they don't understand the talk we talk. Perhaps they don't understand the games we play. But let me tell you one thing they do know. They know love. Like this father. He knew love. But he had dug the grave for his only child. He hung on to that little girl like it were his only possession, crying and screaming unto God. I know what I would have done. I know myself. I would have taken my little daughter straight up to God. And I would have said, there has been a mistake. I didn't mean to say what I said to you. I didn't make that vow. I'm taking my words back because this is my daughter and I can't give her up. As he hugged her, he said, my daughter, I have made a vow unto the God, Jehovah, and I cannot take it back. 2 months later, after she had gone to the mountains, after she had mourned and cried with her friends, she returned. And you know what he did? He did exactly what he vowed. He offered her as a living sacrifice. When I read this story, I broke down in tears. Because I could not believe there was such a man that loved God so much, that walked so closely with Him, that had such a deep relationship. God challenged me. He said, why don't you evaluate your walk with me? And so I did. Oh, I brought before Him the times I fasted, the times I prayed, the scriptures that I read. One thing flashed in front of my face, and I could not get rid of it. A vow that I had made unto Him in 1992, and a vow that I had broken. Why? Because it came to the point where it reached the comfort level, which was going to be stripped away from me. And I said unto God, I can't be uncomfortable walking with you. I therefore take my words back. What am I saying to you? Am I saying in order to have a deep relationship with Christ, with God, that we have to give up our careers, that we have to give up our lives, that we have to give up our family? No. Only a few good men, only a few good women are asked to give up their lives, are asked to give up their careers, are asked to give up everything. Not everybody has that honor. What then is a deep relationship with our God? I begged Him. I asked Him to help me in 1993 because I saw how superficial my walk was with Him. Is it praying? Is it reading the Bible? Is it fasting? Is it everything we've heard in the past? Yes. But I asked Him to make it practical for me. I asked Him to break it down, and He gave me 3 points. First is found in Hebrews 10:22. He straight out told me, I don't care about a pure heart. I don't care about a pure heart. And you say blasphemy. No, it's the truth. He doesn't care about a pure heart. He cares about a sincere heart that aims for purity. That's what He cares about. You see, a pure heart would say, I'm doing this. I am not wearing this. I am wearing this. I am like this. I sit like this. I think like this. It leads to legalism. It would lead to arrogance. He doesn't ask for a pure heart. There's no one that can have a pure heart. Whether you wear makeup or you don't wear makeup. Whether you put something on your head or you don't put something on your head. That does not dictate purity. What God looks for is a sincere heart that aims for purity. What you long for. His righteousness. His holiness. The second point He wanted me to work on was found in 2 Corinthians 13:11. God said, I don't care who you are and what you've become. And I said, my goodness, am I not the apple of your eye? Are we not His heart's treasure? I don't care who you are and who you become. Let me tell you what I do care about. I care about what you're aiming to become. That's what matters to Him. You see, because if I worry about who I am, either I'll get frustrated because I say, I didn't do this, I didn't get here, and that leads to frustration. Or I will say, I am this, I'm educated, I'm like this, I'm hot, I'm nice, I'm this, and that will lead to arrogance. He wants you to stop thinking about who you are. He wants us to think about what we're going to become, pure and holy, like Him. The third point He showed me was from 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 11 through 12. And I want you to listen closely to this. All my life I have been worried about, am I getting into heaven or am I going to hell? All my life, because that's what I've heard. If you do this, you go to hell. If you do this, you go to heaven. God told me in 1993, you stop worrying about going to heaven or hell. Hey, if you're washed with His blood, if you have said, I am a sinner, and I need your blood, and I want to be clean, you are clean, period, and that's it. If you haven't said so, it's time today. But if you have done so, He's not wanting you to worry about, am I going to heaven? What He wants you to worry about is how much of heaven am I getting into me? That's what He wants us to worry about. He doesn't want us to worry about, am I going to hell? He's worried about how much of hell am I getting into me today? What am I reading? What am I seeing? What am I listening to? Where am I going? And what's my attitude? That's what He wants me to worry about in 1993. My quest to be sincere, to aim for purity. And number 3, not to worry so much about, am I going to heaven? I'm going straight to heaven because I am cleansed with His blood. Nothing that I've done by His grace. But how much of heaven am I getting into me? I invite you, I challenge you to join me in my quest. And I know the living Lord said that if you draw near to me, I will do anything in my might and power and will to draw near to you. And that's what He's going to do in 1993 if we draw near to Him. Amen.